All right, David Prince, welcome back to Pre-Market Prep. How are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you boys?
Good. Good to have you back on. So I'm sure you have some thoughts on NVIDIA. What do you? How are you trading this right now as it sets to open at all-time highs this morning?
Well, I first have to tell Dennis, because I saw the tweet he's talking about. It actually came from someone I'm sure we all respect. It was actually from Walter. It was Walter who was saying that someone in his community, I assume it's like assisted living, was doing this strategy. And Dennis, responded. It turns out it's not as silly as it sounds like. But it was actually Walter who was talking about it, just because you think it was some no-name guy.
No, it was somebody fairly big.
Yeah,
like it wasn't
Walter
like
Deemer.
Yeah, it was Walter. And I mean, long term, maybe it doesn't work to like be buying, right away and holding. It depends on your time frame. So Walter's a longer term guy, so he's probably talking. Yeah, you want to be buying something after it's just around 20% for a split. You're probably losing money long term. I'm short term though. That 3 days ahead of the split, David.
Cute trade, but if they work over time and they always work, I get it. Like I heard you on XBI. I'd never do that trade, but if you have evidence it works, then okay, like who am I to make fun of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I buy it, I buy it. But I get how some of that stuff works.
Time frames are funny, like sometimes, you can have two very good investors or two very good traders and they have a little bit different time frame and their strategies can really conflict in the short term, but then they both end up making money in the long term. Like Walter, probably if he's selling into these pops and he's holding it, he's probably going to do well with that too. So no disrespect to you, Walter, just time frames here, but if you got a short-term day trader like me coming in, on their XBI, buy it on Friday, sell it on Monday, it just has worked for a long time. And there's reasons for that is, sometimes you have that merger Monday and the XBI, if you get lucky and one of those 300 stocks hit, and they do sometimes, you make yourself 1%. And sometimes just excitement through the weekends. We know there's positive alpha. This is positive alpha just from owning stocks at the close and selling at the open. We've seen those tweets before.
Over the years, yeah.
130% on any stock in XBI is positive alpha. That's
helps.
So
I guess we could stop our sponsorship campaign with the AARP. I guess they will not be interested in sponsoring any of our content. But I just want to talk about.
Sorry, I apologize. I didn't answer your NVIDIA question?
Yeah, that's where we started.
So,
what are your thoughts here? I mean, we're running into the split. It splits coming here. The stock is firing on all cylinders. It's had the gap and go from earnings here. What are your thoughts here?
My thoughts at first, I think a lot of younger folk or people who really actually don't pay attention to earnings and just look at what's up or down a lot, I think they're learning a lesson that earnings actually really do matter. I think it was Larry Kudlow who used to say it's like the mother's milk. It really is. And now people are like, oh, okay, so maybe a stock can go up a lot and stay up there. So to me, it all makes perfect sense. I stayed loyal to it. It's really made my year. I'm not unusual. I'm sure a lot of people. So I actually held the stock into the print. So the way you talk about people do things differently. And I hung in there. And then in front of 1040, 1050 last week, I was traveling the back half of the week. I said, you know what? I really want to relax. I haven't relaxed in forever. I'm going to get flat. And I'm actually, I get it, the split, it'll probably keep going, but I want to lower the size of my positions. So I'm actually flat, but played it into the print. I've been an aggressive buyer since under, talking recent times, under 800. I don't see any reason to get in front of it. And if you look at its history in terms of guys shorting, it can go to 80 relative strength, which would take it up another 20 or 30. So you can be cute. Could it turn red today for a second? Yeah, but I think we all know it'll be a buy again. So I'm not getting in front of it. If it goes to 1150 here, or if it goes to back to 1070, to me, it's still a buy on the way up. Now, am I an investor up here? No. I'm not first. If you're first buying NVIDIA here, you're doing it wrong, right?
Yeah.
But overall, it's backed by earnings. It's cheaper than some of the best companies out there that trade at much higher valuations. So I'm flat now. I can't wait to get back in on any pullbacks. Hopefully we'll have one, and I wasn't too cute for myself, but I think it all makes sense. Can't argue it.
David, what about the peers? Like, let's just go directly to AMD. I mean, it tells a completely different story than NVIDIA here from a chart perspective. NVIDIA's been running, making new all-time highs. And then you got AMD that's really a long ways from the highs we hit 3 months ago. Had the earnings, went down, but then the earnings dip got bought here. What are your thoughts? Just, talk AMD.
Okay. May I include 2 other stocks with AMD? Because they really, I think a story was told last week that you have to recognize if you really care about AI. And when I look at the AI trade in reference to NVIDIA, I think AMD, I think MU, I think Dell, I think SMCI. You can throw in Broadcom, but those 4 tend to really get alpha off of AMD or lack thereof, right? And the first thing is, AMD is not scaling to the degree yet that NVIDIA should be taking it higher. It's just not. I think the question is, investors are like, we're coming off such a low base, not stock price, revenue, that if we can start to show these raising guidance by $1 billion, $2 billion, we can play some catch up, because it's not about whether they compete. It's just, can you shock the street with guidance changes that are so big? 2 things. The rest of the business has to stop decelerating, right? They have the rest of their business is way too big for AI not to be a monster. Like NVIDIA actually had a the only little problem with NVIDIA's earnings was actually, I think, graphic chips, right? It was gaming. So, but no one gave a damn because AI is growing so big. AMD doesn't have that luxury. So either the rest of their business has to solidify and find a bottom, or AI has to grow enough. I don't think it can move. The other stocks, though, is last week, I think Dell became the de facto winner. And Dell is the actual NVIDIA sympathy play, and it's the stack. Look at Dell and SMCI. Look at their charts on top of each other. That, to me, is what everyone should be paying attention to. Look what happened last week between Dell and SMCI, and that's the NVIDIA picture I'm looking at. And it's all over my Twitter. I said, Dell over SMCI, Dell over SMCI. If you're trying to play stack and so on, that really seems to be what I'm looking at. Anyhow, I'm not saying AMD can't work. I'm just saying there's not a lot of fundamental reasons that make it work. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on AMD. It's got to either firm up their business, or AI's got to grow a lot faster with like major $1 billion, guidance raises. What do you think of it?
I'm long AMD.
Well, am I making? You can be long, and it still makes sense.
I'm like the AI guy. I'm long like everything that can be AI.
Well, so maybe educate me. Am I saying anything that doesn't make sense to you?
No. And I'm with you. Like, this AMD is clearly, not number 1. And I mean, I'm long NVIDIA still here too. I think there's room for Lisa Su. I'm basically a Lisa Su fan. So I'm long AMD because I believe that Lisa Su is going to figure it out. So I'm not long it on margin. I'm not long options. I'm just long it straight up in the long-term portfolio, because I think when I look at AMD 3 to 5 years from now, I think the AI pie is going to be so big. There's just going to be so much to share for everyone. So I mean, it's on your time frame. I have no trade on though right now.
Time frame, like we just discussed, trading versus investing, 1000% agree. Because they are in second place, right?
Yeah.
And so the question is, like, there's actually a video of me saying this. Like, the idiots are like, well, they can't compete with NVIDIA. I don't care if they can compete with NVIDIA. I care if second place there's enough pie. So I agree 1000%. I was answering your question about the next month or two, and who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no position on it the next month or two. It's tricky. I mean, we're gonna get this. We got this NVIDIA run up happening here. We got this AI. Maybe it cools off a bit. To use. But I'd be a buyer of dips on AMD. I'll say that.
My horse last week was actually solar. I was lucky enough to be a part of that crazy move. Were you guys in solar? Because I can't.
Did you get in the first solar
last week?
David, were you in the first solar? Because this thing was a monster.
No, I'm not that smart. I'm like the AMD of the solar trade. I'm an ENPH. I wish I was the NVIDIA of the solar trade. So I'm like half smart. But I really was looking at ENPH's numbers and just looking at how bad things have been. I'm like, they could have an up year with crazy earnings. in 25 versus 24, partially because things have gotten so bad and look where the stock is. So I was like, it's time. And I'm bullish IWM, and it's such a benefactor of IWM. So I went long, and I took the FSLR ride via EMPH. But my point is, in a week where everyone talked about NVIDIA, First Solar went up almost 40%. It's not a $1 billion company.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
that move was probably the most underrated or biggest move that I've seen come out of nowhere, really. I mean, it came out of nowhere. And, and solar's been in the gutter, to your point, and boom, you get First Solar just blasting off out of nowhere 80 points. That's an incredible move. I see what you're looking at EMPH too, where you can maybe have a catch-up trade, but it's just like we've been down here consolidating.
Yeah.
If interest rates, it's an interest rate sensitive play. If interest rates can start actually, go ahead.
No, it's all about interest rates. So if it was 125, I wouldn't have taken the trade, but it was down at 112, 113. I said, you know what? Actually, I can do this trade, and I can manage my risk via options. Because do I want to buy thousands of shares and then find out they pre-announce earnings, which aren't for a couple of months? I don't need to be a part of that. So I can do it through options, still take a sizable position. And I got lucky. A 15, 16.
Dude, that analyst came in. David, were you paying attention to that? I mean, I've never seen 4 price target raises within basically a week. Barclays, Piper, UBS, JP Morgan.
That was on First Solar you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was First Solar. I was shocked. Yeah. I was like, what do they know? I totally noticed that, buddy. I don't know why all of a sudden, but I saw that, and they were aggressive about it.
Very, very.
How much do you pay attention to that?
Like they were betting on election. I couldn't figure it out, but they were really like they felt like they knew something. I totally know what you're talking about. Like out of the blue, they became shockingly aggressive with earnings guidance and so on. So anyway, that was what my week was about last week. Yes, NVIDIA was fun, but solar, I was like, okay.
David, what's your preferred index? I mean, I'm S&P centric. Dennis covers everything. Do you have I've heard you mention the S&P, the triple Qs, the IWM.
I live and die by the Qs.
You live and die by the Qs? Okay.
I trade SPY. I'm actually long IWM right now, but what I trade in size over, the last 20, 30, it's Qs. That's really my thing. It's what I'm comfortable with, how it flows, how it trades. It's just always been my thing. Now, at this stage of the game, I'm not a big buyer up here, but that's what I trade.
Do you hedge yourself at all, like on some of these trades, like come in and like, okay, well, we get a market sell-off. Like I've traded market neutral for like the majority of my trading career, where I take a big position in NVIDIA and I might offset with a little bit of Qs. Do you just directionally bet and you're going and no sense hedging because I'm confident in my bets?
I do it via size, which I once told you guys. For me, it's like if I'm large, the Qs, and I feel like it's an investment, then I'm not hedging because I'm very comfortable that I'll maybe take a little bit longer to make money. If it's shorter term and I'm sized, then I'm hedging. But that's about the only time, right? Because I'm not comfortable investing. It's shorter term and I have some size on. So I only hedge about 5-10% of the time. Because for me, I actually hate market neutral. It's just, I cut myself off, right? It's like the same reason I don't do call spreads a lot of time, right? If I really believe in the play, I want to allow it to work. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just my mindset is because I sell too early. I mean, I sold NVIDIA 40 points ago. My mindset is always, I have to figure out how to stay in the trade longer. I'm still working on that part. So why cut off my upside? I'm still working on that part.
David, before we let you go, do you get your trading tips from that little thing behind you with the
Charlie Brown? That's Charlie Brown by Kenny Sharp, and he actually gives me all my info. Yeah, for the last
Charlie Brown. That's
awesome.
Okay.
David,
I collect some crazy.
That's the secrets right there. It's the Charlie Brown trade there. Now we know David Prince's secrets.
There you go.
David, you always got some good ideas when you come on. You nailed that NVIDIA trade a couple weeks ago. You were in solar last week. What do people get when they sign up for this ebook? We have the QR code here on the bottom of the screen to download your ebook. What do folks get with that?
That's more a function of really how to trade options in kind of a responsible manner, not be a home run hitter. Do it via buying enough time, paying attention to IV when an option trade doesn't make sense. There are people who be like, so I see you have Enphase. I'm not comfortable buying size in the stock. You know, I want to do it through options too. And I'll say, your account's too small. Like, options don't make sense. Because I really think options are a way to manage risk without taking outsized risk, where I'd say 80% of the people out there think it's a way to hit home runs all the time. And it's either, you know, zero or hero. And to me, it's the opposite. That's how I utilize options.
Got it. So if folks want to learn more how to manage risk and kind of hit those singles with options, go ahead and sign up for David's ebook. We have the QR code on the screen as well as the link in the description. David, always great to catch up with you and see what you've been trading. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Hey guys, in case you wanted to look, because I'm trying to figure out INSM myself, $1.4 billion market per year. That bronchiolitis, whatever that indication is. Anyway, I don't know. It sounds like it's got a big TAM. Have a great week, guys.
What's your Twitter or X handle, David?
It's at Epic Trades 1.
At Epic Trades 1. I'll throw that in the chat as well. All right, David, enjoy your short week.
Have a great day.
Thanks, David.